Hello and welcome to Templar Night TV. Now, last week, and I'm speaking to you just before Christmas 2024, the regime of Bashar al-Assad was overthrown in Syria, and the rebels were spearheaded by what we call a Salafi jihadi group, HTS, formerly aligned to Al-Qaeda, and in the past adhering to the ideology of Islamism. Now, by Islamism, we mean an ideology that a minority of Muslims believe in, and that is that the state should enforce Sharia law, a form of strict Sunni Muslim law, an interpretation of the Quran that says that basically Islam has to be placed above all other religions and that all other faiths are effectively discriminated against. Now, HTS in Syria are saying they no longer adhere to that view, but it's been very worrying for Christians in Syria, as well as other religious minorities, to know what is their position in society going to be in the new Syria. Well, this problem in the Middle East is nothing new. It goes back centuries, all the way back to the Crusades. It may have come as a surprise to some people to know that there's a large Christian minority in Syria. But in fact, of course, Syria was majority Christian, very much so, in the late Roman period and up until the invasion of the Arab Muslim armies in the 7th century. Now, other parts of the Middle East also had big Christian populations right up to the period of the Crusades, including Egypt, which had also been a powerful centre of Christianity before the rise of Islam. The Patriarch of Alexandria was one of the most powerful Christian figures in the ancient world, whose power rivaled that of the Bishop of Rome, of the Pope. He regarded himself, in fact, probably as more of a right to be a powerful Christian figure than some Bishop of Rome. But as I say, from the 7th century onwards, Islam becomes the dominant political force in the Middle East. Egypt and Syria become part of the Muslim world, but still have large Christian populations. But by the year 1095, friction between Christianity and Islam in the Middle East was increasing. There were periods of tolerance and periods of intolerance. Well, by the year 1095, intolerance was definitely in the ascendant. So beam yourself back to the year 1095. What was going on? Well, the Pope, Urban II, had convened a council, a church council in the French city of Clermont. Imagine that you're there. He is bellowing from the pulpit. He is telling the congregation that Christians are being raped, tortured, and murdered in the Middle East, specifically in what is now modern Turkey, but back then was the Byzantine Empire. This was the continuation of the Eastern Roman Empire, and it was majority Christian, though it was not Catholic. It was Orthodox Christian and was not in communion with Rome. In other words, Christians in the Byzantine Empire did not recognize the Pope as their leader. They were part of the Orthodox tradition. Nevertheless, they were under attack from a new Muslim invading force, a force known as the Seljuks. The Seljuks were a steppe people, that is, they came from the plains of Central Asia. They were nomadic. They were forced on the move, possibly by climate change at that time, and they were forced to move westwards. They converted to Islam, though ironically the first people they attacked were other Muslim countries, namely the Abbasid Caliphate. They invaded Baghdad and then they made their way towards the Christian Byzantine Empire. And they hollowed out the Byzantine Empire. They invaded huge chunks of it, taking land and people into their possession. And this is where we got the stories of them raping, murdering, looting and pillaging Christian sites and people. So Pope Urban was telling his congregation that these nomadic people, the Seljuks, were basically ravaging the Christian Byzantine Empire, and that a new kind of war was needed to counter what they were doing. A crusade was needed, and this was greeted by the congregation with a shout of Deus Vult, God wills it, and it unleashed centuries of crusades in the Middle East by the West against the East, by Christianity against Islam. Now, to find out more about what happened next, I have my book here, my new book, The Knights Templar, History and Mystery, which is published by Pen and Sword, published this month. It's the first of a trilogy of books on the Knights Templar that Pen and Sword will be publishing over the next couple of years, all authored by my good self. The first book gives you a linear history of the Knights Templar, everything you need to know about them during their first 200 years of existence. I say first 200 years of existence because they kind of continue to exist in different ways after their official termination. But anyway, the first book is about the history of the Templars from 1119 through to 1314, the burning of their last Grand Master, Jacques de Molay. So get your copy. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble and other sites. And also look out for me on TV. I'm on a series called Alien Corridors at the moment, all about UFOs. I'm also on a series called Tales of Oak Island, which is a new spin-off from The Curse of Oak Island, which you may know on the History Channel. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you soon. Buy a copy of my book, link down below, and until I see you again, non nobis domine.